Hi everyone, bringing you a video today on the actual mannequin of the month for April, and what we're looking at here is something tying together a lot of the various little bits we've been looking at in videos recently. So we've got early 1937 pattern pouches, gas cape worn up on the shoulders, the leather jerkin and so forth. Things we've looked at in videos recently. I thought I'd try and tie them together in a mannequin. And the mannequin we're looking at here, as the title says, is British soldier, British infantry in France in 1939, 1940, the winter period then, in training, most likely training in fixed defences, so in trench warfare. A lot of photographs from the time period show this and show a very similar setup to Great War photographs. Obviously at this point it's very much in training. The war hasn't broken out proper for the troops of the BAF, but you can see that the mentality of the training and so forth is very much dictated by how the war was fought 20 years previously. And as such, the equipment looks quite similar in many ways as well, or the uniform rather, particularly as this mannequin is still wearing service dress as opposed to battle dress, which we'll get onto in a minute. But taking a look at what this is wearing overall, we have up here at the top a Mark II helmet, which is covered in quite a distinctive Hessian cover. And these seem to have been fairly commonly used by the BEF. Obviously it's a Hessian cover with foliage loops stitched on, as you can see there, to allow foliage to be attached for camouflage purposes, which doesn't seem to be all that commonly done, but obviously the Hessian cover has a camouflage effect in itself in taking the shine off and the helmet. They don't seem to have been completely universally issued, and there are lots of photographs of men just with their helmets with nothing covering them at all. So what the scale of issue was, whether they were just locally made as a unit supplies or what, dependent on the unit's own standing orders, I don't know. But they do turn up in photographs. So I've included that here as a distinctive piece of clothing from this period. Moving down slightly, we have the respirator haversack worn up on the chest at the alert. So we have a Mark V respirator haversack there, which does have an fairly early Mark IV general service respirator inside, which I have done a video on previously, so I'll put a card in the video to look at this if you're interested in seeing more details of that. Then of course we have the 1937 pattern web equipment. This is being worn, as we'll see when we look around the back, without the haversack on the back or the pack. Men on trench duty and in training and so forth seem to have quite often dispensed with the haversack. Again, very similar to trench duty during the Great War, where men literally had their ammunition and everything was nearby because you're going to be fighting in a static position, or at least that was the supposition. So there's not necessarily need to be carrying all your small kit on you. So we have obviously the two Mark I ammunition pouches, and you can see here how low they hang on the belt. It's quite a nice illustration of that point, which came up in the video I did on basic pouches, and this would pose a bit of a problem and would see a redesign of these. But still, obviously 1937 pattern in an early configuration. Underneath that we have the leather jerkin. Obviously the winter of 39-40 was exceptionally cold, and leather jerkins were often worn in the field to protect against the cold. They're a practical garment from that point of view, as we've said in the video looking at those, much more practical than wearing the greatcoat in the field, and they were commonly used by the BEF around this time. Obviously we've got the gas cape up on the shoulders, which we'll have a look at in a minute. The main garment being worn, as already stated, is service dress. Service dress would continue to be worn through the beginning of 1940. It seems that battle dress was actually sent out to troops in the field, and the initial scale of issue was going to be one suit of service dress, one suit of battle dress. Obviously this would change as the war went on, and you'd end up being issued two sets of battle dress. But service dress was actually worn in the field early on in the Second World War. Men, a lot of regulars sent out to France in 1939 were wearing service dress, went out in service dress, but as I say, through 1940 there seems to have been a change to this, and men were actually sent battle dressed to obviously re-equip in the field with the most modern uniform, which makes sense. But this soldier still, in the winter months, very common to see in photographs, is wearing service dress rather than battle dress. If we move the mannequin round to the side here, we can see the bayonet for the Rifle No. 1 Mark III Star, which was still obviously the standard service rifle of the British Army at the time. The No. 4 was in existence, the design and so forth, and limited manufacture for trials, but hadn't gone into full production and hadn't been obviously wasn't yet on issue at all. So the rifle number 1 Mark III is the standard arm of the British Army at the time. Bring this all the way around here, you can see at the back of the web equipment, and a nice illustration here again of the way the string, the whipcord from the respirator haversack is just looped through the shoulder strap there to hold this up on the back. We have the cross straps, the braces for the, so cross straps is a colloquialism, the braces for the 1937 pattern web equipment, crossed over with obviously the loop there on the back. You can see that the web equipment is actually worn over the anti-gas equipment. So the first thing that goes on is the respirator and the gas cape, and then the web equipment is put on over that. So if you take your web equipment off, you still have your gas cape and respirator there in case of need. And you can see roughly the width of the shoulders there, the roll with the tapes crossed over, as we've seen in the previous video on how to wear the anti-gas kit. This is one way of doing it, and the way I've used on the mannequin. One thing you'll notice is that the discomfort this could cause is quite well illustrated here. You can see how the sleeves of the service dress are rucked up underneath where the tapes go under, and in actual wear on a person, when the tapes cross under your armpits, they actually can dig in and cause discomfort. So it's not an ideal way of carrying it. It does mean that when you untie the tapes, it stays hung around the body for long enough for it to roll down your back and be put on, but it is uncomfortable and not an ideal way of carrying things. If we move this around again to have a look at this side, we can see the early war aluminium water bottle. And in contrast to the aluminium mess tins, these were actually ordered returned and recycled. So these would disappear out of service, but they're very much a hallmark of the early war period. A lot of men still had the Mark VI, the steel water bottle, and obviously the Mark VII would come in 1940, I think, off the top of my head. But the aluminium water bottle was certainly around at the time, and you do see photographs of it being used. And it would have been a much better design, really, from weight and point of view of the no felt cover or anything, and it's made of aluminium, which is good. It's an excellent material for the purpose, but there was an aluminium shortage, and these were ordered, returned and recycled, so there it is. But definitely an interesting early war bit of kit. They had taken a step in the direction of improving kit in that point of view, and the aluminium water bottle there was one part of that which would disappear. So if we let the sleeve down there, bring it back round the front. So that's a look at the kit we have on the mannequin for April. As I say, I thought I'd tie together the bits that we've looked at, and it's nice to have an early war setup. I like the early war kit, it's interesting. You don't see it as much as the late war kit, not so many people cover that era, and it's nice to have this collection of stuff together on the mannequin together. I just like the look of it, really, so that was part of the choice as well. So that's just a brief run over of what we've got on the mannequin for April, the serious kit we've got on the mannequin for April. As I say, if you do find this sort of upload interesting, if you find this sort of subject matter interesting, then please consider subscribing, for obviously so you can see my future uploads. And in that vein, if you make sure you hit the notification button, that will notify you when I upload future videos. I also have a Facebook and an Instagram page where I upload photographs and various other things that I can't really tie into YouTube videos, looking at the collection, historic items and so forth. And obviously the supporting photographs for some of the videos and things I've uploaded as well, which they're all put up on Facebook and Instagram. So I do hope you found that interesting looking at this. As I say, it's tied together some of the bits we've already looked at over the last few weeks, and that's it for now. We've looked at all the details there, so until next time, bye for now.